Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Good morning, Gertrude. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lorien Byrne. I'm hailing from Cape Town in South Africa. It is a beautiful sunny day today. I just want to tell you a bit more about myself and the journey that I'm on as a woman. So I'm not sure if anyone can relate, and I'm sure you all can. Once a year, maybe I get really ill, and it's not just a cold. It's like full-on body sickness. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you just back and forth to the bathroom all the time. And it was sort of middle of the year, I think maybe last year, I had been in bed for a few days trying to recover from this illness. And I got to a point where I just couldn't anymore. And I needed to go to the doctor. I'd been trying to manage my illness myself. And that morning I went in to see my normal doctor, but she wasn't available. So there was a new woman. And as I walked into the doctor's office, that familiar smile in the waiting room, sort of quite clinical, I sat down and she just looked at me in the eyes and I started to cry, like uncontrollably cry. And I don't think it was even about being ill in that moment. I think all of the things that I'd been holding in, all of the expectations and just performance and trying to hold everything together while I'm sick. I mean, even there's a point in my life where I felt guilty for taking days off to heal. And I think there's a point where I don't know if it's almost like hiding behind my smile, the internal collapse that happens when a woman is trying to hold everything together. There's this cultural lie, this myth that strength is what we need to be. We are rewarded for silence. We cope. We hold things together. Strength is, it's like being called a goddess, superwoman, the CEO, the boss babe. Like those things are all very nice to hear, right? But they don't come with the type of support that women need. Strength without support is really slow destruction. And I think women carry about 70% of the emotional labor in families. And when I talk about emotional labor, it's not just physical things. It's all of the thinking behind the scenes of whether your children have their lunches packed or what's happening on the weekend or all of the things on your calendar and your partner's health, your children's health. There's a point where in that doctor's room, I had to say to myself, who cares for me? Because I was taking care of all the people around me and people pleasing, trying to be everything to everyone. And I think one of those things that I struggled with was also being diagnosed ADHD later on in my life. When I was a child, my brother was diagnosed with ADHD because boys present hyperactive, but girls often are internally hyperactive. And so being diagnosed late in sort of like my late 30s, and then slowly realizing that all of the things that I'd struggled with in my life, most of them were related to my ADHD. I was also a single mom for about 7 years. I struggled with burnout. I struggled with addiction. There was a shame spiral attached to that. And I went into survival mode, like a hyper independence where I was only relying on myself and I wasn't able to ask for help. I think that one of the most important things that I've learned in the journey that I've been on in the last few years is that women need support. We need to be seen by other women. We need to be able to express ourselves without shame and fear. Vulnerability is strength. It's not weakness. Brene Brown did a beautiful TED talk about vulnerability, and I really believe that it is a superpower. We don't need to be stronger. We need to be steadier. Supported, resourced, connected. I think I was just chatting to a friend of mine who I'm trying to help, and she said, I can't believe that I've had the best night's sleep that I've had in 15 years because of what you told me to, the supplements you told me to take, and sort of the tools that you've asked or that you've introduced to me. I've developed a framework. It's called STEADY. The STEADY letters all stand for something. S is for stop the performance, slow down, take time to notice when you are people pleasing. S, that's for S. T is for tune into your body. E is for express yourself honestly. A is for ask for support. D, do one grounding practice. And Y is yield to rest. So for me, being in that moment where I feel like I'm about to shut down and everyone's asking me for things, maybe it's going to happen to you in the holidays where your mother-in-law and your children or the rest of your family are around at Christmas and you just feel overstimulated. There's too much expectation and you want to shut down. Using that steady framework, I can stop, I can pause, I can see if I'm people pleasing, I can tune into my body. What's happening in me? Is my heart beating faster? Am I hyperventilating? Do I need to take some belly breaths? Breathing through my nose, counting to 10, drinking some ice water, and express that honestly. For E, tell someone, I'm having a difficult moment. Can you just give me a second? I need to walk away right now. A, ask for support. Delegate something that you've got in your hands. Can you make the salad? Would somebody mind answering the door? Another one is a grounding practice. One of those grounding practices that I love to do is taking off my shoes. It seems silly if you're in an environment where you're in a corporate setting, like in my office, I sometimes just take off my shoes, but in a meeting you can't. So I like to do those nose breaths. Breathing through your nose is really, really useful. And then yielding to rest. And sometimes that's not possible, but for me, sometimes yielding to rest just looks like taking those 10 deep breaths. Allowing my heart rate to slow down, just giving myself permission to not feel guilty and to be in tune with my body in that moment. And for me, that's the new definition of strength. It's a nervous system that's regulated. It is a awareness of what's happening in my body and not feeling like there's something wrong with me, that I'm broken. Because for so many years, I felt like there's something wrong with me, that people can function in environments where there's stimulation, there's noise, there's people, there's crowds. I used to drink alcohol because I felt uncomfortable when I was younger, because I thought that that was taking the edge off. But I realized that I was just numbing myself. I don't want to numb myself anymore, and I don't want to live in a life that I feel like I have to run away from. So these days, I'm trying to create a life where women can feel free to be part of the world, and that strength is not supposed to break us. We need to be supported. We need to be in community with each other. We need to be able to share our struggles openly. Strong isn't who you are. Supported is who you're becoming. And when women become steady, the world becomes steady too. I do honestly believe that when we can show up in a way that honors ourselves and is loving and tolerant towards the rest of the world, that the ripple effect around us is just magnificent. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. So many women are going through this challenge, the challenge of not feeling well, not being believed, being strong, and redefining strength for women can be very, very difficult. Now, when did you first realize that being strong was actually costing you your well-being?
I think being a single mom was probably one of the most difficult things I've had to do in my life. And I think my kids are now 18, but I think holding everything together and being in it alone was probably part of a turning point, and that really was when my children were quite young. But the problem was at that stage is that I didn't change anything because I felt like that was what people expected from me. Yeah. To hold it all together, to be super mom, I was freelancing day and night. I'm a video editor by trade, and I was literally working night and day, and it was burning me out. But I carried on that way for another 10 years. You can imagine what that does to a nervous system. So discovering that things could be different, I think I only really started to make big changes in my life in the last 3 or 4 years. I've been married for 10 years. My children are now 18. So maybe the last 3 or 4 years, I've really started to work on being aware of my body, being present in myself, and realizing that I don't have to feel ashamed if I need to take a rest day. I don't have to feel guilty when I'm sick. I can take a few minutes out. I can go and do something for myself, by myself. I don't have to feel like I owe something to everybody.
So how did burnout look like for you before you had the language to name
it? So burnout for me looked like, it really looked like addiction and isolation. I was drinking too much. I was running away from my problems. It was during COVID, actually, that I had a realization as well that the way that I was living was not sustainable. I wasn't happy inside of myself. There were moments where I wished that my life would end. And I'm not meaning like I was having thoughts of really ending my life, but there were moments where I would be sitting on the toilet and just think, why am I here? What is my purpose? If I didn't exist, would it matter? And those moments really sort of cemented in there's something that's not right. And I think that's also why I started to see a psychiatrist and a psychologist, because I knew that I couldn't manage some of these things alone. And we're not supposed to do this alone. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on in my brain chemistry. And I think those moments driving in my car into the office, I live on a beautiful piece of coastline, and not noticing the beauty and actually just thinking, if I drove into the ocean, would I die quickly? And that's a horrible place to be. And I don't ever want to go back there. And so these days, when you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, thank God I'm alive, instead of, oh dear, like what's this day going to bring? Or, oh, I've got a hangover. Or just the ability to wake up and feel purpose and feel possibility, that is such a gift. Gratitude is a huge perspective changer in my life, and I use it daily.
That's so true. So why do you think women in particular take pride in exhaustion and self-sacrifice?
Ooh, girl, that is such a question. I feel like society tells us that that's what we're supposed to do. I think there's almost like a traditional, I don't know if it's like 60s or 80s version of the good wife.
Yes.
The Stepford Wife, the advertisements in the media of perfect hair, perfect house, perfect children. And I think when we were kids, it was the father that went to work. It's this sort of patriarchal society that we grew up in as kids. And I don't know if that works in all cultures, but I know in my home, my father was the breadwinner and my mother never worked. And that is a very privileged place for her to be. But her job was minding the household and taking care of the children and holding the home together. She was the one that planned all the events. She was the one that, you know, she's the matriarch and the caretaker. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're unequal, but I know that in my head, my father is the head of the household. And I think biblically, that's where it came from as well. We grew up in a very strong Christian family, and the wife submits to the husband, and her role is to care for the children. So I think, I think traditionally we're brought up with this. But also Disney movies, man. Let's think about the way that Disney works. She always needs to be rescued by the prince, right? She can't do anything for herself. I watched a sort of, I think it was a little video on YouTube or Facebook, whatever, Reese Witherspoon saying, like, there's a part where a woman goes, "What do we do now?" And the man is the one that answers that. Like, she's in the Disney movie going like, "Please tell me what to do." And like, she's this helpless little waif who needs a man to come and tell her how to run her life. I don't need a man to tell me how to run my life. But having a partner, my husband is an incredible human. So, yeah, sorry, I keep waffling. Right. It's so nice to be able to talk openly.
How did motherhood, partnership, or caregiving amplify the pressure to stay strong?
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever known a pressure like being a parent. How did it amplify? When my kids were born, I was not in a good space. I was young. I was 21 when I had them, and it wasn't planned. And there was already shame around being a young mom. And I think that cemented in my mind the need to perform, the need to show them that I was able and capable, because people would say to me, oh, shame, or I'm so sorry, or can we help you? And at the time, I didn't want help. I think I was determined to do everything alone and to show everybody that I was enough, because I didn't believe that I was enough. And for so long from there, having children, they need so much from you. And as almost just an adult, I think I was 21 when I had them, there wasn't much of me to give them. I didn't know how to be a mother, and I don't think any woman knows how to be a mother.
They don't come with a guidebook to say this is how you parent, right?
And I think that everybody around me, bless their hearts, I had an incredible community to assist me. My mom, my mother-in-law, my ex and I never married, and my mom's friend, who was a kangaroo mom, they came alongside me to help me, but everybody has their own opinion on how to raise a child.
Yeah.
And I'm the young one. I'm the child raising children. And I think that really was very challenging. Because I felt so unprepared.
So what does nervous system awareness mean? And why is it missing from how we talk about resilience?
So for me, I never knew that I was ADHD, and I never understood what was going on inside my brain and how I was being affected by outside stimulation, really. So the heart rate starting to beat, or the heart starting to beat faster. I'm not noticing the messages that my body's sending me when I'm stressed or when I'm uncomfortable. And being able now these days to notice that Whereas in the past, I just thought like I was freaking out. I didn't know that that was dysregulation in my nervous system. I didn't know that those physical sensations were linked to mental states.
Yes.
That I was anxious. I didn't have words to explain those things. I didn't know what anxiety looked like. I didn't know what my body's stress signals were. And being able to identify what's happening in my body. And listen, like I'm not a smarty pants person. I'm not a biologist. I'm a video editor. I'm just a woman who is slowly trying to understand her body. It's been life-changing for me to be able to put my hand on my chest and be like, okay, something's happening here. Yeah. And get curious. I think that curiosity is really important instead of blaming and shaming myself. And I still have difficulty in some of my relationships where people are like, what's going on with you? You seem, something's going on. But I didn't have the words to explain what was happening in my body. And it was quite disconcerting to be like,
so why is asking for support still so hard for high-functioning women?
Why is asking for support so hard? I think asking for support is still seen to some extent as weakness.
Yes.
And I feel like people, good morning, John. People feel like, I think if they can't manage what's on their plate themselves, then there's a deficit.
Yes.
Which is not the truth. I have a lot on my plate, but I know that I can't manage it all alone.
Yeah.
And I lean on other people. And I think that vulnerability is still, even though we've been speaking about it quite openly for a while now, only a small amount of people are able to really see it as strength and to allow themselves to connect deeply with others on that vulnerable level. And I've been sort of expressing myself on social media lately and trying to reach out to women. And I found Threads, which is like Twitter for Instagram, which I've never done before, but I found a really real connection on Threads of women who are reaching out honestly and asking for help. And I loved when people can be themselves, people can exhale. I think that was one of the things that I loved, was like, you see me, I feel understood, identification. And I also really found that when I went into the rooms of addiction recovery, was that feeling of identification is so strong, and being able to be in a room with someone who's been through a similar thing to you, and for you to say, I know that feeling. I've been not look exactly the same as what you've been through, but I can guide you because I've been there. And that for me has been really incredible, is actually walking other women through a sobriety journey.
That is amazing.
So beautiful.
So how does women's healing ripple into families, workplaces, and communities?
If the woman is well, the community is well.
That's true.
She is the overarching matriarch. And even though we feel like we might, or I speak for myself, I should speak in I phrases, that I don't feel like I am as important. I think the woman raises the children. Traditionally, the children are the next generation. I think when a woman's health, mental health and physical health is strong, and she feels whole and she feels seen, she's able to like ripple peace. She's able to ripple calm. She's able to teach her children how to be self-aware, and also to act in a way that is loving and tolerant towards others. I think something that I've also learned through recovery is love and tolerance is our code. If I can act with love and tolerance towards others, it really just, the ripple effect is massive. And with inside of business as well, I've come across so many incredible women in business since I started my entrepreneurship journey. I've joined mastermind groups, feminine founders groups. And if we can almost like pepper our emotional and mental strength throughout the business world, maybe we will create honesty and softening and relatability, just all those like beautiful, honest, soft. And I know that when you think about a business, you think about, oh, I think about men in suits and hard, like the Mad Men world where everyone's drinking alcohol and smoking cigars and doing advertising. But it's really all about relationship for me.
That is so true.
Women encourage relationship. We have conversation. You know, how can we be real with each other? How can I go below that hard exterior that you've put in front of yourself, that mask that you've attached to try and protect yourself from hurt, from shame? Whew,
a tough one. That is a tough one. Now, let's finish the interview with 2 questions that are a bit of a thought experiment. In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back. You're going to go back in time to the younger you, the young woman who found herself struggling, pleasing everyone, burning out. If you could go back and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
Sure. So I have some pearls, and I know that one of those pearls, one of those nuggets of wisdom is what other people think of me is none of my business. I spent a lot of time thinking about, was I being judged? Were people thinking that I was doing a bad job as a parent, as a mother, as a worker? So one of those things was, what other people think of me is none of my business. So I could let that go. Another one is, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And it feels yucky to say that. And it really is the truth that I'm the only one that can get myself out of a situation that is damaging me. So I have to be willing, I have to be open-minded, and I have to be honest to take those steps. And then I think the third one was just suit up and show up. Just arrive, be there, be present. I think one of the things I spent a long time doing was thinking about my future and worrying about my past. And if I could just remain in the moment with the people in my space, I think it would have made my life probably a lot more calm. I think I consistently worried about what was going to happen with my kids and myself in my future. And being present is such a gift. Being able to just be in this moment is an incredible, incredible gift. And gratitude, daily gratitude, just that I could open my eyes, that I can smell with my nose, that I can use both my legs, that my hands work. Those small things that we take for granted are so important, and they change my perspective every time I lean on them.
That's fantastic. Now, next question, I will teleport you into the future this time, and we are going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. And she is sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, whoever's going to be with you at the end. If we could teleport into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until that point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
I think I'd say, well done. You lived well. You lived in the moment. You loved. You were peaceful. You brought joy. think that is my goal, is to spread love and to bring joy to others in my life. And if I can do that with a generous heart, I'll be content.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with our community today.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. Thank you, Gertrude.
And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who is experiencing burnout, you're looking for support, here's an expert who can help you and guide you out of that trench. Or if you know someone who needs help, please share this podcast, tag your family, your friends on social media, and let's get them the help that they need. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thank you again for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story. Thank you